Proposed OSHA regulations that would impact first responders has fire departments across the nation speaking out. I'm Samantha.
Plus, voters in Joplin push back against city council plans to replace Memorial Hall. And a small town in Kansas gets big honors from the Smithsonian Magazine.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
OSHA, the federal agency that sets and enforces standards for workplace conditions, is proposing a new standard intending to help protect emergency responders. This is KOAM News at 6. I'm Tanya Bach. And firefighters across the country are speaking out about the potential impacts this rule would have. KOAM's Samantha Walker has more.
First responders like firefighters are known to be in dangerous jobs, but OSHA is hoping to help make these work environments as safe as possible. They say that, quote, existing safety and health standards do not adequately protect the emergency response workforce from these hazards. OSHA has proposed a set of new regulations that would replace the current fire brigade standard implemented in 1980.
From what I can gather from the OSHA is they're wanting to combine a whole bunch of like 22 guidelines into one mandate. Mandate is a little scarier.
Fire departments and associations across the country are speaking out against the proposed standards, including the National Volunteer Fire Council. Departments like the Dunaweg Volunteer Fire Department say several parts of the regulations could be impactful, such as not owning a truck more than 15 years old.
The people that are out here doing the job understands that some of this stuff's not going to work. Okay? There's some fire departments can't write a check for $500,000 for a fire truck.
Another concern they have is the 2-in, 2-out rule. This rule states that if you have 2 people in a house fire, you have to have 2 people outside to help them. Departments say although that standard is safe and ideal, it's not realistic.
The fact that if you wait until you have 2 people outside on some of these rural departments, it's going to be a lot more property damage than what we're used to seeing. So there's some problems with that.
He says while his department may not be too impacted by these regulations, others in smaller and more rural areas will be hit hard.
They don't always have a huge budget. They don't have a tax base. So, you know, it takes 5 years of chili feeds just to buy a used truck. And those are the departments that are going to be affected the most.
Reporting in Dunaweg, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
OSHA says they welcome and encourage public comments in response to the proposed rule, and they have extended the window for comment until July 22nd. You can learn more on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Well, Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy joins us now with a first look at weather.
Well, of course, it turned out to be hot and humid for us today. Temperatures shot up into low to mid 90s across the region. We're still actually sitting mainly into low 90s outside. We're going to slowly drop back, but heat indices have been up there as well across the region. We're going to have those higher heat indices as we go through the next couple days. Also, it's been breezy. Look at this. Southerly winds 10 to 15, gusts kind of higher than that. This is what we're going to see as we go into Tuesday as well. Had a lot of cumulus clouds out there. Now that we are slowly losing the heating of the day, we're seeing those clouds kind of dissipate, so we're going to have pretty much clear skies as we go through the overnight hours tonight. As we slide back through the 80s into lower 70s later on tonight, of course. We're going to look at the rest of the week, all coming up here in just a bit.
All right, thanks, Doug. KDOT wants to remind folks they have one last opportunity to take part in the US 69 Highway Project Survey. The public can weigh in on what they like and don't like about the project, as well as information in general about the project. The final day for the survey is today. For anyone interested, we do have a link located on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Just search US 69 and go to the most recent article. Well, voters in Oklahoma head to the polls tomorrow to cast their ballots in the state's primary election. In Ottawa and Delaware counties, voters will decide the Republican candidate for state offices, including corporation officer and District 1 state senator. There are also some county office primaries in Delaware County and a tax question in the town of Bernice. Polls open at 7 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Joplin community members push back after the city council votes to demolish Memorial Hall and build a memorial park in its place. KOAM's Amber Jenkins has more.
Joplin City Council members voted to demolish Memorial Hall to build Memorial Park in its place. Since the council vote, some community members are upset that the vote wasn't open to residents.
Big things like this should not be left up to a handful of individuals to decide. It should go to the public vote.
Landris is a member of the Facebook group called Save the Joplin Memorial Hall. Most of the 500 members want to preserve Memorial Hall as a piece of Joplin history rather than replacing it with a park.
And we're not against, that kind of stuff. It's actually kind of neat to see. You can see all kinds of birds and stuff. But big stuff like this needs to go to a public vote.
Before the council voted to replace Memorial Hall with a park, City Manager Nick Edwards noted that the public did not vote to demolish Memorial Hall when the public voted on a remodeling proposal in April 2022.
I think it's important to note when we did that election, we never went to the public and said, if you don't vote yes on this, that we'll be forced to tear it down. And so that might have a different impact.
Funding for both the demolition and creation of a new park will be identified after the design process is complete. Reporting in Joplin, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
KOAM reached out to the city of Joplin but has yet to receive a response. A southeast Kansas town is earning national recognition for its revitalization efforts. Every year, Smithsonian Magazine puts out its list of the best small towns to visit. And this year, Humboldt, Kansas made the cut. With a population of just over 1,800, the magazine credits the organization A Bolder Humboldt with redeveloping the community as a hotspot for entrepreneurs and tourists.
Humboldt made the cut because we're doing something. A lot of years ago, we decided that we were in decline and thought that if that nobody's going to come save us, we need to do the work ourselves, and so not only government but also private individuals, which is what this story is about, is the businesses that are being created here to revitalize Humboldt.
You can find the full list on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. Pittsburgh athletes will soon take off for the Olympic track and field relays. John Dales has the latest on the team making the trip, coming up in sports. But first, 4-state residents look for ways to beat a dangerous summer heat. Another day of high heat and humidity, and that combination is already sending people to the doctor after overdoing it while outdoors. Charmel Odell shows us there are many things you can do to beat the heat.
It's too hot too soon, and I don't ever remember it being like this.
Karen Vaughn has lived in Springfield nearly all her life. Growing up as a tennis player, she's had her own experience battling heat.
And I was playing tennis, and I just blacked out on the tennis court because it was so hot and so humid.
Now she works to protect her grandkids from the heat, which keeps them from spending long periods outdoors.
We came to the park today because he likes to come to the park and swing, and that's what we did, but we haven't been for a while.
Hospital leaders say the mix of high temperatures and humidity can lead to heat-related illnesses.
So oftentimes with heat exhaustion or leading into heat stroke, that can play an impact on your mental status. You can have some confusion. Oftentimes, dehydration is an issue with these high temperatures as well.
People who are most at risk, seniors, people working outside, and children.
And kids are more susceptible. Oftentimes they'll get involved playing. The last thing on their mind is, I need to take a drink of something.
Little boys, especially this one, I know all the others do, but they like to run and play. You can't do that in the sun. Out here we've got a wonderful, wonderful breeze today, and that's been nice. But other than that, I've got to keep him where he's got to be in the shade.
With both Vaughn and her grandson being one of the few most at risk, she gets a head start on prevention.
Well, the heat and the humidity now scares me. It really does scare me. I have to be very, very careful, because if I take him for a walk and it gets really hot, and I can't take a chance on something happening to him if I go down. So I don't. We just go for a walk. We might just walk down 3 or 4 houses and turn around and come back. I'm very, very careful. I have to be because it scared me so.
Emergency room personnel recommends taking 2 water bottles with you before heading out, 1 for water and 1 just for ice. A little later, the Outlaws take on the Jeff City Griffins for some big league baseball. John Dales has a preview coming up in sports.
Plus, the heat and the humidity are going to be sticking around. We're going to look at that coming up. Well, of course, another hot and humid day once again for us today. Also windy. We've had the winds really kind of gusting quite a bit throughout the afternoon hours. Great shot. This is of our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex tower cam. Of course, we are looking northeast at downtown Joplin from Cornell, which is about 7th and Joplin Street. We have some cumulus clouds which have been out there. Temps are going to slide back through the 80s. Into lower 70s as we go through the next several hours. It's 89, Nevada 86. In Monette, we have 88 in Grove, Welch at 90, 90 in Oswego. Chanute is sitting at 89 degrees. When we go outside, here's 7th and Rangeline, 88. Look at the southerly winds and look at our heat index. So with the humidity kind of climbing already, this is what it does. June, July, August, into September, we start looking at dew points. Dew points measure how much humidity is in the atmosphere. When they sit in that 65 to 70 degree range, we're in that sticky to muggy kind of range, and that's what we're going to see as we go through the next couple days. All right, look at the winds, southerly winds at about 10 to 15. We've had gusts higher than that. We're going to have winds gusting at times 30 miles per hour or so through the night into the daytime hours tomorrow, and then slowly starts to back off by the time we head into Wednesday evening. But I guess if it's going to be hot, it's nice to have a little bit of a breeze. So your wind forecast, this is kind of a knock your trash can over situation, but it should stay in place. All right, all the cumulus clouds we had earlier are starting to dissipate. We're losing the heating of the day. We have some thunderstorms down across southern parts of Arkansas. In fact, some tropical moisture, which will kind of vect north and combine with our next little weak wave, which will give us some hit-miss thunderstorms, especially by the time Wednesday rolls around. So let's go down the road. Here's our upper level flow. So now this time of the year, the reason why severe weather season ends is because our jet stream weakens and it shifts farther north. We get high pressure. We do get some fronts in here, but traditional severe weather season, we just really don't usually see it. And then as we head into Friday, you can see a nice big ridge. We do get a little system that drops through the Great Lakes over the weekend. It'll drag a cold front south, and that will give us some better chances for wider spread rain. That will be our next one on Saturday. All right, by morning, low to mid 70s. As we go through the day, we warm into the mid 80s by noon, and most of us smidge cooler than what we saw today, near 90. Isolated shower once you get over toward Table Rock Lake. Tomorrow night looks fine, backing down lower 70s once again. As we go into Wednesday, heating up near 90, but look at the hit and miss isolated storms starting to pop up Wednesday afternoon, and then will die down once we lose the heating of the day on Wednesday. Tuesday day planner 75 to start, 85 by noon, high temp right around 89 degrees, plus our heat indices right back up into the low to mid 90s during the afternoon hours tomorrow. 88 on Wednesday, those isolated thunderstorms. Thursday, Friday, just hot, and then better chances for widespread rain moving in over the weekend.
Yeah, kind of wish that when the storms would come, it at least bring the temperature down a little bit more.
Yeah, it just makes it more muggy and humid.
Yeah, it kind of makes it worse. All right, thanks, Doug.
Yep.
Well, still ahead, the Nevada Griffins go on the road to Jefferson City. And Pittsburgh State Track and Field sends several athletes to the Olympic trials. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
The 2024 U.S. Track and Field Olympic Trials begin this Friday in Eugene, Oregon. Pittsburgh State will be well represented, fresh off winning both the men's and women's D2 Outdoor National Championships. PSU sends 5 athletes to the Olympic trials. 3 male athletes from PSU have Olympic trial qualifying times. Trey Betts in the triple jump, Hunter Jones in the decathlon, and Dalen Williams in the 110-meter hurdles. On the women's side, Anna Childress makes it in triple jump. Kyla Davis does so for pole vault. Now, Davis was a national runner-up. Childress, Betts, Jones, and Williams, all 4 of them won individual national championships last month. 3 former gorillas are headed to the Olympic trials as well. Lewis Rollins and Cordell Tinch in the 110-meter hurdles, and Brett Thompson in the javelin to earn a spot on Team USA for the Olympics. These athletes will need to finish in the top 3 in the final round for their respective events.
It shows where our program is and where it's going to have 5 athletes, current athletes that still have eligibility, competing on the biggest stage, and to be able to represent, Pittsburgh State at the U.S. trials. I mean, it's really amazing. It's spectacular. I mean, there's a lot of words. It's a whole lot of fun, but I think these kids also want to go and prove what type of athletes they are and what kind of program we have.
Just really prideful for my community. Everyone there has got my back, and ever since out of high school they've been there, and so I'm just really happy and blessed to be able to represent my town and my community, Pittsburgh, Nickerson, and Kansas as a whole.
Summer baseball continues along in the 4 states. Joplin Outlaws are off tonight, but the Nevada Griffins are in action. They face the Jefferson City Renegades. That contest takes place in Jeff City tonight at 7. Renegades are the defending Mink League champions and enter the night in 2nd place. Nevada has struggled early in the season. It's currently in last place. I'll give you an update on the score of this one later tonight at 9 and 10. Major League Baseball, 70 games into the season. The Cardinals are 35-35, which is good enough for the National League's 2nd wildcard spot if the playoffs were to begin today. They begin a 3-game series against the Marlins in Miami tonight. As we come on the air, no score in the 3rd inning. Rounding things out with pro basketball, Game 5 of the NBA Finals is tonight in Boston, which has the chance to be the final game of the 2023-24 season. A win would give the Celtics their 18th championship. Now, Boston holds a 3-1 series lead over the Mavericks in the best-of-7 series. Celtics have won 5 games in a row on their home floor. If they win it, it would be their first NBA title since 2008. Mavs try to keep the series alive and force a Game 6 in Dallas Thursday. That's it for sports. We're back after this.
Here's a look at what's coming up on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Baxter Springs residents get a lesson on beekeeping. Plus, the nation's top doctor calls for warning labels on social media apps. And new federal data highlights concerns over Americans' ability to retire on time. Those stories and a lot more tonight on KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. Final sports note?
Well, Pittsburgh High School Wrestling is having a camp today. It begins 3 days into Wednesday. We'll have more from that later tonight at 9 and 10.
All right.
Hot and humid weather really sticking around as we go through the next few days. 89 tomorrow, 88 on Wednesday with a few isolated pop-up storms.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here at 10. Have a great evening and an even better tomorrow.